Hey, what's going on, guys? Shannon Hopkins, 61 Isaiah Ministries. Today, I got something special for you. We got three people here from Red Oak, just south of Dallas, north of Waxahachie. We got Jim and Paul, or Pablo, and Stephanie here. And I just want to ask them a couple questions here. I guess my first question would be, what are you hearing? What were you thinking before coming down?
We were really excited to come to Honduras because we did not know what to expect. We didn't know if we were going to be wearing masks. The big thing with 61 Isaiah Ministries is walk with us. We didn't even know if we would be able to walk with the people, if they would be scared with us, if we'd be able to actually come into their house and do house visits, which is 95% of what we do. And so we thought it would be really important to come and just do a vision trip to see where our village is specifically. Wanted to see if they were still having churches and what all the COVID things that they would be comfortable with or not comfortable with.
Thanks, Stephanie, for sharing that. So that seems to be like the number one question people are asking is, what is it really like there? And I just gotta say from our end, it is so hard to describe without seeing it. So I'm super excited for you guys just to kind of just go, you know what, we're just going to take the risk. We're going to figure it out. We're going to come walk it out. And I think the hope is for you guys to go back and just share with your church. This is what we experienced. It was a piece of cake. We can handle it. It's not, it's going to look different. Fine. It's going to look different. But it's still doable. And we still get that opportunity to go walk with our partner churches. So I think one of the next questions I have, what was the travel like? Because, travel, CDC guidelines, vaccines, masks, airports.
Travel was a little bit different this year than it has been in previous years. We had to go get a COVID test before we came down. That's not a big deal. It's you get your results back in 2 hours from a Walgreens or a CVS. Coming into the airport, a little bit more restrictions on having to register on the pre-flight checks, things like that. Again, nothing hard. I know I had to text Shannon a couple times and ask a few questions, but it wasn't anything that we couldn't solve or we couldn't get through. Landing in San Pedro Sula, again, a little bit different. They had some checkpoints, took your temperature, things like that. There was no mass chaos. Honestly, we got through the airport much quicker than we had in previous years. Travel coming through back down to Gracias. Since the hurricane, the roads are definitely a little bit bumpier. I would say that. But again, it's not impossible.
When you got here, what'd you see? You described getting to Gracias. At this point we're at Gracias, but what'd you see in the villages when you came out? And then I guess to add that is that is it worth it? Is it worth coming in here and doing something?
We were able to meet with the pastor and found out that they were still having church services 4 times a week, that it wasn't affecting their village like all of the stories sound like they would be. The people are actually excited and encouraged. We got to worship with them and experience just an amazing time of fellowship and of the Holy Spirit moving in that service. We got to visit with families who were not afraid to have us there. We wore masks during the service, more out of respect for them, but they weren't wearing masks. They don't have that fear. And so it was absolutely, mind blowing for us to see that it really hasn't affected the village that we were in. Maybe there's differences in other villages, but what we do know is God is still at work in Honduras. And for us, that's real exciting because we want to be a part of what God's doing. We're ready to go back and prepare to bring a team later this summer.
Yeah. So you mentioned being up in the villages, going to church service. So, one of the big things we do is go make house visits. So what was that like? Did you guys get to get in the houses or anything like that? And what did you experience?
Absolutely. That was one of our foundational pillars for being able to come, is wanting to do house visits. We have relationships that we've built over the past 4 years with these people. We know them by names and we know exactly where they live. So we were very excited to go meet specifically with several families. And it was just so heartwarming to see some of the children run to you. They know your name and they give you a hug. So it was really exciting to be able to reconnect with them and just talk to them about how this experience through this past year and a half of going through this pandemic has affected them. And just to see that they still have strong faith in God and are still doing what they need to do. So we were really excited to be able to visit with them in their homes and to not have any fear on either side of the virus.
All right. Hey, thanks, Stephanie. I love that. Let me ask this one more question here. You mentioned fear of the people there. I know sometimes we're fearful of the spread of disease, or we're fearful of what's going to happen. So I guess my biggest question is: both of you guys are parents. You both have children, grandchildren. Would you bring a teenager here?
Yeah, I'll answer that first. Absolutely. I feel like the protocols that are taking place, the safety things that the nation has in place, and the precautions that we're taking are sufficient. We're doing everything that we're asked to do. We're doing everything that the country asks us to do, and I'm looking forward to bringing my daughter and letting her be a part of what God's doing.
Yeah, Jim, I'd agree with that also. No hesitation on bringing, a young woman or a young man down here with us. The protocols that are in place, obviously having to get tested before you come down here, that's a big deal to make sure we're safe, make sure we're not bringing COVID into the village that we see. Same thing when you leave. You have to get another test when you leave, which is it's painless. It's not a big deal. You get a test, you get a result back in an hour, and so you're safe coming home. You don't have anything. There's obviously risk involved with that, of course, but the risk to us, I think we would all agree that that risk is acceptable. Yeah. There's always a risk when you travel overseas, whether it's plane travel or whether it's just travel down the road. I mean, you never know what's going to happen, but at the same time, what we're doing here matters. It matters. It's a big deal. These people are happy to see us. This village is a little bit closed off from the world, so I think us coming during a pandemic, hopefully on the tail end of a pandemic, I think means just that much more to them. And just shows that we do care for them. And honestly, it builds the bridge to them and to connect them to their church and ultimately connect them to the Lord even stronger when you show that, hey, look, I do care for you. I do want to come down here and visit with you and see you despite the risks.
All right. So one last question is this. You guys think back to the first time you came down here to Honduras when you first heard of 61 Isaiah Ministries, and we're sitting here talking about come walk with us. All right. I don't know about you guys, but for me, the whole concept of coming to walk with somebody through the good and the bad, now that includes a pandemic. So does come walk with us still mean the same? Has it changed? Is it not changed? Does it have a new meaning, not new meaning? What does come walk with us mean now to you? Now that you're walking with us, I'm gonna go and say it post-pandemic. What does that look like now?
I would say, for me, looking back from the first time that I came with 61 Isaiah and heard the phrase or the slogan, come walk with me, I think it's kind of changed a little bit in that from the very beginning, it was kind of a participating in a relationship and walking together. But I think as time has progressed and as the pandemic has occurred, that now it's become like a stronger bond. It means more for us to participate in what God's doing when somebody's going through something that's scary and difficult and maybe creating fear in their lives than it does to just come down when times are good. And so I think right now time is ripe for us to really build those relationships, to show the people in the village that we care enough that even in the midst of fears, we're willing to do what God's calling us to do to reach them. And I think that's when you truly walk with somebody, is when you're walking through life with them during the worst.
Yeah, Jim, I agree with that too. I think come walk with us means come struggle with us. It means come work with us, come visit us despite what's going on. There's so much more there than just hey, what's going on? Good to see you. How have you been? There's so much more than that. And coming year after year after year, those relationships, you really build them.
And truth of the matter is, if we are seeing them as part of our family, as part of God's family, then when your family is sick or when your family is hurting, you visit them. You're there when they have need. And this is just one of those opportunities to show them that in the midst of it, we're with you.
Exactly.